Hello, everyone, and welcome in. This is Aaron St. Denis at FF Mad Scientist, joined by Mike Kashuba at FF Mike Cash, and welcome to the Mad Science Lab podcast, hosted by the Fantasy Football Universe on the Fantasy Football Advice Network. How's it going, Mike? Long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's good getting in the off-season grind and trying to figure out, who we love, who we hate, and all the rookies.
Yeah, I got friends at work, and they're like, "Oh, you must be happy the season's over. You have lots of free time. You do not play Dynasty football, do you?"
Yeah,
There is no off season. It's even worse. I'm busier during rookie season than I am during the NFL, like the
yep.
NFL season.
You got to catch up on everybody, and there's the Debbie
Yeah,
guys that somehow already have to step up on the Dynasty guys, who then have to step up on the redraft guys. It's
yeah,
just
it's a never ending cycle. So
it's always a bigger fish.
yeah, I almost skipped the part where I say, "So you want to tell everyone where we where you're where you work and what you do?" I almost skipped it because I
Yeah,
knew the answer, so I just
yeah.
got comfortable with you. But go ahead and do it anyways.
Well, hey everybody. If you haven't heard me before, you can find me on Twitter at FF Mike Cash. Thanks, Aaron, for helping me find that a little more, easier to find for people. It's Mike Cash with a K. I'm the co-host of the Fantasy Football RPG podcast. You can go ahead and just search Fantasy Football RPG. We're the one with the dragon for the cover art. And then you can also find me at Last Word on Pro Football. I'm an editor over there. Just search Last Word on Sports. You'll find everything you need to find there. So if you want written content, Last Word on Sports. If you want more audio, RPG. And if you want to bother me or heckle me, Twitter's the best place to do it.
Oh, that's the best place to heckle everyone. But I got so used to having you on the show during the season, I almost forgot to introduce you. Then I'm like, wait, not everybody knows. Like some new viewers during the off season and
Yeah.
a new network. So I'm like, we should do this right. But all right, let's get into it. We are continuing on with Dynasty Risers and Fallers. Your riser is an interesting one. You spent too much time, I think, covering the Tennessee Titans this season.
That I
It is
did.
Tennessee quarterback Will Levis. He was a rookie last year, finished as QB 33, 149 completions, 255 attempts, 1,808 yards, 8-4 touchdown interception ratio. Only played in 9 games, so it's a solid start to the season. I hate keep trade cut, as I always say, but this time of year, I'd like to know what the general public feels about these guys. And they are almost right in lockstep with Fantasy Pros. KTC has him 178th overall in single QB at QB 22, and Fantasy Pros has him at 171 overall at QB 26. So he is solidly in the tier 5 of quarterbacks here in a group that's about 15 quarterbacks deep, judging by their rankings. It goes all the
Yep.
way from Cousins and Mayfield down to Michael Penix and Sam Howell and Kenny Pickett. So, where are you comfortable with Levis? How high do you think he gets, and how high, do you want him?
Yeah. So the whole buy-in for him as being a riser has to do with, I think there's some uncertainty that's baked into his price right now. People aren't sure, like, are the Titans committed to him long term? Is he going to be the guy? And as I look at it, the Titans have the opportunity to build around him this offseason. They have a pretty high draft pick that they're probably not going to use on a quarterback. They have the ability to add weapons around him. And I think this offense is going to shift. Like, they were still kind of stuck in the Stone Age. It's like, we're just going to hand it to Derrick Henry and Tyjae Spears a million times. We're going to see what Will Levis is. I did a film study on the podcast breaking down his game-winning drive and some of his highlight plays. Like, he's got the juice. So if he can make all the throws all over the field and they commit to him long-term, which I expect them to do after this season, like quarterback 20, what did you say, 21? I think he's 24 right now. Like, he's in that
22
giant,
and 26, depending on the site.
he's in this giant gross tier of guys. And if I'm taking a quarterback later in the draft, I'm going to pick Will Levis because
Yeah.
there's a chance for that long-term stability with a little bit of, like, we've seen him play. The spike weeks are going to be exciting. So I'm comfortable in the 18 to 17 tier now. I'll take him ahead of Bryce Young. I think that he has a chance to have, built around him a little bit more than Bryce. And I think that he can rise into the Cousins Goff tier where you're never excited about. He's not going to be top 5, but he's going to be a steady quarterback 10 to 14 for as long as they continue to commit to him. Best
Yeah,
case.
I agree. Like, I was high on his arm strength at very least coming in as a rookie. Uh, I think, the offense is going to have a lot of changes here with no Derrick Henry.
Yep.
It could look a whole new offense. Okay, he could be great. This offense could be a whole new revamped up. What are you drinking? Just water?
Water.
Look like moonshine.
Just
He's
trying to stay
drinking
hydrated.
Yeah. All right. Sorry. Could be a whole new offense and he could be great. But even if he's a flop, I'm paying QB 26 price. I don't care. The
Yep.
upside for me is worth the stretch here. And that's what it comes down to. It's a risk versus reward. So that's why I don't mind it at all. I don't know
Sure.
how high he's going to rise, definitely during the offseason here. I can't see them drafting a rookie. They need an offensive tackle, which will only help his value. So I think I like this one. Like, especially in Dynasty, he's in a range where it's all older quarterbacks. Cousins, Mayfield, Stafford,
Yep.
Jones, Smith, Wilson, Carr, Rogers. Like every every quarterback I just named there has maybe 2 or 3 seasons left at best, whereas he's a rookie or a second player. The only one, the only other ones in that tier are 2 rookies in JJ McCarthy and Michael Penix, or Sam Howell, Kenny Pickett. So you either have 2 guys who looked terrible last year, 2 rookies, or the ancient quarterbacks left in the league who half of them are free agents. So
Yep.
it's very interesting. I look and I could even see him moving up into the tier above him because like it's tier 4 starts with Tua at 16. I like Tua better. I like probably Jaden Daniels and Jared Goff, but after that,
Yep.
it's Watson, Bryce Young, and Drake May. I feel like Levis should probably or could probably crack into that 4th tier and get himself. He's at 26 right now. I feel like
Yep.
he should be closer to 18 or 20.
And what's interesting with that, like you have to use the 103 or 104 on getting Drake May this offseason. I've seen plenty of trades where it's an early second or a mid second for Will Levis. Like, go buy and take the swing on this guy in case he is the long term starter because Tennessee doesn't have another solution right now.
Yeah, and I'm not sold on Drake May at all. I think Will Levis has just as much upside, but it's the fear of missing out in the shiny new toy. That's what drives the price. But yeah, just looking. I don't love Will Levis by any stretch. I think he's got a cannon for an arm, but this range here, it's free and it's like I'm gonna trade away a quarterback who might have 1 year left. Like Cousins, Mayfield. I don't think any of these guys have multiple years left. Like some of them, I don't even know if they'll play this year. So I
Yep.
think this is kind of free money. If it hits, it's a bonus. If not, oh well, you threw away like you said, a second round pick or a dynasty 15th round pick. It's nothing.
Yep.
It's what was he 171 overall? Yeah, so you're talking double digit rounds. So
Yep.
I like that one. We will get into your excuse me, your faller. Kansas City wide receiver Rashi Rice was a rookie, finished as wide receiver 27, 79 catches on 102 targets, 938 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns. Obviously, was the one of the better rookies in this class this year. He was pretty good. Really came on in the second half of the season, but KTC has him as wide receiver 22, 39th overall, and Fantasy Pros has him as wide receiver 21, 36th overall. So in single QB, he's going on the 3-4 turn as a wide receiver 2. How high do you think he goes, and where do you think he belongs?
So I think he's going to fall to the wide receiver like 28 to 34 range. The issue here, like we're all excited about Rice because he's the only option in Kansas City right now. But everybody that watched Kansas City this year knows they need to add somebody. Like they're not rolling into this year with MVS, Kadarius Toney, and Sky Moore aside, Rashee Rice. So what I expect to happen is that they're going to spend either their first round pick or their second round pick on another wide receiver. Now it's not just the Rice and Kelsey show. Now it's the Rice, Kelsey, and Franklin show. It's the Rice, Kelsey, and Brian Thomas show. It's the Rice, Kelsey, and Xavier Worthy show. Like, will that
I
be
have
better
a
for the
side
offense as a
question
whole?
here. How many
Yeah.
dogs do you have? I feel like I've seen 6 walk down the hallway in the last 8 seconds. They just keep coming down the hallway.
No,
You got
it's
me
3.
distracted.
They're all very excited.
It
to
was
be on
like a
the show.
clown car of dogs coming down your hallway there. They just kept coming.
No, it's
Sorry, go
Cooper,
ahead,
Ash,
what
and
you were
Bo. I
saying.
have 3. But that's what I'm talking about. It used to just be Ash and Bo, and then you knew all the targets were going to 1 or 2 dogs. But then you had Cooper. You got a 3rd dog. I'm
Nice
worried about
segue.
that 3rd dog and what it's going to do to the 2nd. So I like Rashee Rice. I was actually in on him early. I have a lot of him in Dynasty, and I'm very excited about it. But by the same token, like the opportunity is going to change, and he's a solid receiver. He is not going to be the wide receiver, like a wide receiver 2 for the rest of his career going down the line.
He seems like he's in the bridge here, the bridge zone in tier 4, where the
Mhm.
guys above him are a little more solid and consistent in DJ Moore, DK Metcalf, and T. Higgins. Even if you want to go a little higher to Ayuk, Devonta Smith, and Michael Pittman. And then it gets into the group of him, Nico, Drake London, Flowers, Dell, JSN, Addison. So it goes, he's kind of in that bridge where I think Higgins was the cutoff. Higgins or Metcalf was the cutoff of the proven solid wide receiver 2 level. And then it's a bunch of guys who are all kind of, they have the upside to be high end wide receiver 2s, low end wide receiver 1s, but none of them have really done it on a consistent basis. So it's a tough range. Nico, Rice, London, Flowers, Dell, JSN, Addison. And then after that, we drop into some of the rookies.
Yep.
How do you feel about him in that range? Do you think he deserves to be higher? Do you think he deserves to be lower?
I think that's an appropriate range for now, but I am going to try to cash in on those prices. Like if I can go get a London plus, if I can go get a Collins plus, a Dell plus, like you were able to do that during the playoffs because guys are watching them play and they're going, oh, hey, I see him. He's good. And that's a prime time to swap your playoff players for other guys. But I think he's going to drop 5 to 6 slots. And if you can cash in at the top, why not?
Yeah,
Especially pre-draft.
I was talking about Tyjae Spears earlier, and we were saying that the hype is so high right now that it feels like he can only go down in value. And Rice kind of feels that way. This is like you said, it's one of those ones where it could be a time bomb waiting to go off at the NFL draft. If they draft, I don't think they draft a receiver in the first round. We do this every year, and we project every receiver to go to Buffalo, Baltimore, and KC in the end of the first, and they never do. But if they draft a second round receiver, which is just that's what Rice was last year, that could really hurt his value. I also think some of the price is baked in here. Everyone was assuming Kelsey wasn't going to come back. Everything I've heard from Kelsey seems like he's 100% coming back next year. He's talking about running it back with Coach Reed and a 3-peat. So Kelsey's going to be back, and I think he has at least one more pass catching option added, probably a rookie, maybe even a veteran off free agency. I don't know. I just find he's moved up since we started. He's gone up 2 spots during the show. So they have him as wide receiver 20. And I just think you're getting to the point where he might be priced at his ceiling. So I think it might be a good time to sell. How about you? Yes?
I agree. Especially, let's say they don't re-sign Chris Jones. Like now they're going to have all this cap space, and maybe they spend it on offense for once. Like Mike Evans is still walking around. T. Higgins, I know the rumors are they're going to tag him, but they haven't yet. Like, there are some chances for them to go grab a guy.
Mike Evans is someone I could definitely see, a veteran who wants to chase a Super Bowl, maybe takes a discount to go to KC. That seems very plausible now that you bring it up. So,
Spooky.
That would be catastrophic for his value. I don't like that at all. He would probably go from wide receiver 20 to me to outside the 30s here, I think. Not a fan of that. Don't love it for Rice's value. But all right, one more time before we wrap it up, you want to tell everyone where we can find you and your work?
Yep. At FF Mike Cash on Twitter, RPG Podcast on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and Last Word on Pro Football if you're looking for written content. I appreciate everybody for listening. And P.S. Help Aaron hit that little subscribe button. He's growing this channel and he's crushing it. So
it's actually this is the new one on a new network, but I appreciate it nevertheless. But well, that concludes this edition of Risers and Fallers. Thank you for watching the Mad Science Lab podcast, hosted by the Fantasy Football Universe and the Fantasy Football Advice Network. Thank you again to Mike for joining me, and thank you all for tuning in. Take care, and we'll catch you tomorrow for the next edition of Risers and Fallers.